Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Going to be doing some Jarl today. I think it's been a while. When was the last Jarl video, actually? I think it's probably been at least a couple weeks. But today I actually want to do kind of like a budget Jarl build. This has been like a video I've been thinking about for a while. Mainly because they just reprinted like Felling and Plow. So that's actually made the deck a lot more expensive, at least like an Earth version of Jarl. I wanted to actually start, I guess, by talking about Rob's list. So I think we played Rob's list on the stream a couple weeks back, or maybe like a week and a half back. And this list is like crazy expensive. If we like look at the list, and again, this list is like very good. But the problem is like obviously a $2,000 fab deck is quite expensive for I think most people. So like we have what like $245 for the Heart of Fyendal. Shelters from the Storms are going for, I think this is actually like 100 a pop realistically if we look on TCG Player. So this is 80 for the lowest, but like most are going around 100, and that's for like a damaged copy. So I think like realistically maybe that's another $60 right there. Balance is 235. Three CNCs are gonna set you back like $70 each. Lots of like expensive cards, especially in like Jarl, right? I think a lot of this is like the problem with a lot of these cards, if you'll like notice a theme here, is that a lot of them are kind of shared class cards and not even like Jarl specific cards. So like Shelter's a generic, Command Conqueror's generic, all these are most of these are generics, right? And then like I guess this is like an Earth card, but since Verdance is super popular right now and also Florian's super popular, Everbloom is also going for like $35 a piece. Lots and lots of expensive cards in this Jarl deck. So I think there is a way to make a similar style to this Jarl list without all of the kind of like fancy fables and also just like the super expensive staples. So I wanted to kind of do my best to kind of put together kind of like a little bit of a budget list. So let's actually kind of go to the budget list. Normally, I think I do like a game first before the deck tech, but I think today I'm going to make it a little bit different. So let me change this to the sideboard. So this is the budget Jarl deck that I put together. And this list, I think, is actually like kind of competitively viable. Like I've been basically winning most of my games. I think I lost like one game into a Verdance and one game to Kasai, but I've been like able to beat like fully fleshed out fab CC decks with just this deck, which is kind of cool. So I wanted to kind of like share, I guess, some thoughts on this. So let's talk about the price of this deck. So I made this. I tried to set this to be kind of like a budget like standard deck in Magic. So let me actually pull open the data that I found. Let me pull open Discord. But basically, I did some research from like MTG Goldfish. So let me actually pull up like MTG. So yeah, I think currently the average price of a Magic standard deck, if we look, let's see all standard decks. So I basically took the top 15 like Magic standard decks, and then I like averaged the price. I think it currently sits at around $376. It might have updated since like yesterday. But yesterday when I did count, it's around like 376 is like the average. So I want to make a budget deck that's around like 300, the price point. I think we're gonna talk about how you can also lower that if you want, but I think this is like the price point that I want for like the minimum. Today we're talking about grief, yeah, true. Um, but yeah, today I wanted to kind of like share at least like I think $300 is a pretty good price point, especially for like a fab deck. You can't really get a ton cheaper than that without being like super competitively non-viable. I think I want to put together like a budget list that's like actually you can like go and win games with. So I wanted to talk about like the main impetus for like why I wanted to create this deck. So Felling and Plow Under both got a reprint from the new set from Super Slam. So these are a lot cheaper. If we actually look at the pricing, let me actually sort this now. Felling and Plow are like super powerful cards, but they're also like super inexpensive now. Like I think Plow is now $3 a pop, and then Felling is sitting around $10 a pop. So that's kind of like and causing it at our raise, yeah, for sure. But these two reprints actually, I think, went a long way to like actually making a more kind of like Earth Jarl, like a competitive Earth Jarl budget list a lot more viable. So these cards are like pretty expensive, but up the power of the deck by a lot. And I think a lot of the other Earth cards are pretty inexpensive if you kind of like ignore some of like the higher price ones. Like I think Everbloom is like 100 for a playset, and then I think I actually don't know if there's another. There's another. I guess Barkskin is another Earth card that's a little bit more on the pricey side. Let me actually look. What is Barkskin worth? We put that in the inventory. What is that? It's like $50. Yeah. So I wanted to try to put together like a Jarl list that you can do well with competitively that also is like under $300, which I think is a lot of kind of like hoops. So the biggest actually kind of price, or like the biggest thing that contributes to the price right now is Rampart or the Rance Head. So this card I think got a reprint in the gem pack, but hasn't seen a reprint in a while. Let me actually pull this open. So $90. This is for cold foil. I think these are all cold foil, right? The Ramparts. But anyways, Rampart I think is like the most expensive card in this list, and I think if you remove Rampart, you get to around 200. So that's like one option to make the deck a little bit cheaper. But I think Rampart's like pretty important, at least for the competitive viability of this deck, because we've kind of built the deck around it a bit. And the way we kind of built the deck around Rampart is specifically with a lot of these like 1-cost defense reactions, and also kind of like 2-cost defense reactions. So Hungry for More is also, I guess, a new card printed in Super Slam that I think kind of boosts fatigue or guardian strategies by a lot. So it's basically like a 1-for-3 Sigil of Solace, but it obviously like procs after 3 turns. But this makes it a lot more viable to like play off of Rampart, which is really cool. Like you can basically like play a Sigil of Solace off Rampart and then like get a bit of value that way, and then like basically just kind of like grind your opponents out. So this is the list I want to try today. We're also going to do like a very light kind of earth splash. So we're doing the root bounds, we're doing the plows, we're doing like fruits, seeds, like all the good cards. And I think most of these like normal earth cards are like pretty inexpensive. I think it's the Everblooms that are like the main earth card that's like super, super expensive. And then I think there's also one card that I guess surprised me in terms of like how pricey it's got. So if we add Imposing Visage to the deck, I think Imposing Visage is sitting around like $30. This actually is like a pretty important card, I think, into Gravy. But if we can save like $100 by not including this card, I think it's probably worth it. Again, it's like a pretty good filler card. It does like a lot of things, but I think the problem with this card and like why it's so expensive is that there are a lot of Guardians who are like wanting to use it as well. But yeah, this is like I think a pretty good baseline fatigue list. I've been like winning actually a surprising amount of games with this list. And I think that if you wanted to get this list down to like 200, like let's say you just bought the Armory deck, and you cut Rampart, I think like that's also a reasonable thing you can do. So like maybe we like put Rampart in the baby board and then run like Steel Braid Buckler. I think that's also an option. Although I will say that I think Rampart does do a lot for the deck, so I think like you can reasonably cut it if you want. But I think like Steel Braid Buckler does feel a little bit worse, but it does reduce the price point by a lot. But yeah, I think we're gonna be running the list for Rampart and just try to keep it under 300. And then what else do I have to talk about? So again, a lot of expensive cards in this list. I think like if you want to be like, I guess like, at the most optimal competitive level, like you bring in like Heart and you bring in like the Everbloom Lives. I think these help like you establish like kind of the loop or like the life gain loop. But you can get like a reasonable life gain buffer even without those. Like you have like the Hungry for More, the Fiddler's Greens, and the Sigil of Solace. And this is kind of why this deck is a bit of a griefer deck, is because like you basically are running 9 defense reactions, or I guess 11 defense reactions. And then you're also running around, how much life gain is this? I think it's like 33 last I checked. Ignoring the Oasis, it might be like 36. Something like that. But basically there's a lot of life gain in this deck. There's a lot of prevention. There's a lot of D-reacts. And then you just have like the really good late game of like Felling and Oakenold, which is also really cool. And then in the sideboard, we also have like a little bit of tech just for the current meta. So I think this deck like baseline already does pretty well in the Syndra. The problems with this deck, I think, are going to be into Gravy, and then Verdance is always kind of like a nightmare. So I'm running 2 poisons for Verdance, and then 3 Scar for a Scar just for Gravy. I think this deck can be Gravy. I think the only problem with it is just the Imposing Visages do a lot in terms of like getting out the first crumble. So we might struggle a bit into Gravy, like finding that first crumble. But again, I think like if you want to cut $100 off this deck, like cutting Imposing Visage kind of makes a lot of sense. And yeah, this is going to basically be a fatigue pile. We're not running, there are some unfortunate generics I think we're not running, like the Shelters, the CNCs, and the E-Strikes. These are all super expensive right now. So in the place of those, we're basically running like cards like Fate. We're also running, I think we actually just like cut the CNC E-Strike entirely. I think we're just running Plows. I think like Plows are pretty good, but maybe in this deck I also want to try to find room for like, maybe we cut some blues and like maybe we add like CNCs and maybe that's like another viable option. But yeah, I think you can do pretty well with this Jarl list. So I kind of want to stop talking. Let's go ahead and maybe grab some games. But I think that this is a really good starting point. And I think if you also wanted to, you could very easily just like cut the Rampart and shave another $100 off this deck, although the power level would definitely go down as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get some games. I've actually been winning quite a lot with this deck, so I'm trying to be a bit hopeful for the stream. I think that we could probably win quite a few games, I imagine. I also want to talk about, I guess, some of the cheaper cards in this deck. If we go to, if we look at the equipment setup, the equipment's actually not bad besides Rampart. So Coordinate Peak is currently $18. I think that's the most expensive piece of equipment. And then obviously we're running like Tectonic Crust, which is like not great. Ideally, we would want to maybe be running Bark Skin if we have it, or like Tunic. I think both would be pretty good. But the nice thing about Tectonic Crust is it's just like 2 Temper, and it's also an Earth card, which is quite nice. We're basically ignoring the Seismic part of this. And Gauntlets, I think, just come with the Armory deck as well. So if you buy the Armory deck, you can just kind of like take the Gauntlets and put those in as well. I'm actually kind of curious what Gauntlets are going for. Here we have Gauntlets. Gauntlets of the Boreal. Oh, maybe that's ignored because it's Armory deck. I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, this is assuming that if you bought the Armory deck, like you can basically like take the cards and then just add a little on top of it to make it a little bit better. I'm trying to think what other cards are in the Armory deck, actually. Take a look. Can't remember if Pulse is in there. I know Oaken's not. And a lot of these like other ice cards are also not. Alright, looks like we got a game. So Ailio going first. So this might be a little bit of a tougher matchup. But I think we'll just choose to go first here. And then I think we want the Null Rune, the Ramparts. I think we're just 83. Then we're going to just try to kill them. I think we can probably safely get rid of the Staunches here and just go 63. That seems fine. We might also not need the Remembrance into Ailio. I'm going to cut that as well. Alright, here I think I'm just going to go for the Tear. If we get some armor out of them, that's good. If we don't, that's also fine. Yeah, we'll just go for nice little Titan's Fist on turn 1. If we can get like a Gone and a Flash with this, I'd be pretty happy. And they are going to Sigil, which is fine. I mainly just want to try to run them out of cards in this matchup, especially on like 83. I feel like this might be a matchup where Amulet of Echoes also might be decent. Yeah, the play pattern is going to be mostly to block with Hand and Hammer, although there are some cards that we do kind of want to play towards in certain matchups. Like, in general, Felling is quite powerful. Like, Felling and Oaken are basically your 2 most powerful cards that you can do on offense. But for the most part, this deck is like trying to fatigue your opponent. So we're basically trying to block as much as possible, prevent as much damage as possible, and just stay as healthy as we can. Right, looks like our opponent's deciding on blocks. But yeah, basically we're just trying to navigate to the end game kind of as quickly as possible. Right, looks like they're going to ping us for 1. Alright, not the end of the world. We'll just take that 1 just so we can sit on a fate. If we end up discarding their hand here, I'd be pretty happy with that. So we hit a Blast with Oblivion, that's pretty good. Yeah, we basically got the full hand out of them. That being said, they did get a Sigil off, but we don't really care about their life total as much. Or so care about ours. Alright, we do have a Felling, but we don't, unfortunately, have the ability to play it yet. Probably just looking to Oasis this turn, depending on what they do. But yeah, I think in matchups like this, you do want to also be activating like Coordinate Peak a lot, because if you notice, they're not on Tunic. So if we can like strip a card out of Ailio's hand every turn, it kind of also makes it just very hard for them to play the game. Yeah, this is basically going to be like a budget fatigue style list. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Or if that's like a play pattern that kind of interests you, I think this is a pretty good baseline. I will say that the Rampart is optional, but I didn't include it because I think it's like the most important card in the deck. And I think it's actually also like a really good card if you want to just like upgrade the deck eventually or play a different hero. Rampart's like a pretty good investment because I think Pleiades and Lyeth are both experimenting with it. I could be wrong on Pleiades, but I've definitely seen Lyeth mostly using Rampart. So if you want to play like other Guardians after Jarl, I think Rampart's like a decent investment. But if you want to play like other heroes, maybe like Tunic or like some of the other kind of like staple generics are also pretty good. I'd say it kind of depends on like what your goal for like who you want to play in the game. I guess is kind of like my main takeaway. All right, but next turn I think we're just gonna start peeking them. I actually probably shouldn't use the D-React there, but it's probably fine. I like the idea of fatigue and then end up seeing a hand that just converts to more damage and just tanking my own life to swing it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely hard to know like when to fatigue versus like when to try to like disrupt your opponent. I think here it's actually kind of awkward because like we don't really have a great hand, and I think I might not have wanted to actually use that fate there because like none of these are like a super appealing arsenal target. Like I'd rather just arsenal the Oasis more than anything. So I think I'm just gonna like overpitch here. It's unfortunate we also didn't find a blue because then we could have like played the fruits as well. So yeah, I'm basically gonna just try to strip a card from hand from Ailio every single turn and not even care about the Titan's Fist. But this is basically my win con against Ailio is to like take a card out of their hand every turn until they basically like cannot play the game. And then Ailio's hero power is also very funny because like basically he's also like taking a card out of their hand like every turn. So it's very nice to play against Ailio. I'm kind of curious how many times they're going to actually use the hero ability there. But yeah, I think I want the Oasis in case they're able to like amp super high. And then we're going to put them on basically a 5-card hand next turn with the Sigil Brilliance. I also don't want to attack into them because if we attack in, they can pop their Flash of Brilliance and then maybe get a pretty wide chain off on us. So yeah, we're going to be limiting what they can do as much as possible here. Yeah, you do have to be kind of like careful, especially with fatigue stuff, because like it is very appealing to send like an Okanold for 9, but sometimes your opponent can just like block an Okanold, so it doesn't even matter. Ailio is probably not one of those heroes, but like there are other heroes in the game that just have like huge fridges that can block Okanold whenever, so like prioritizing your life is a lot more important than your opponent's life a lot of the time. That's at least kind of how I think about lists like this. But yeah, we got our opponent about a fourth of the way through their deck, and we've not taken any damage. So I'd say I'm pretty happy about that. Eclectic Magnetisms, that's fine. Oh yeah, we can link those two lists. I can actually send that to Tegan in a second here. But I think I'm actually gonna go for the Rampart plus Plow Under block here. In case they want to close the chain, we can like repay in a Rampart. But yeah, I'll go ahead and grab these two links as well. Let me post them in the chat. Do I have the chat open? All right.
Send them to me and I'll make it.
I'll post them in the chat if you want to copy them. Give me a sec. Right, those are the two lists. Tegan will put together like a little bot command for it. All right, looks like our opponent is going to get CLV off, which is fine. So yeah, we're just gonna keep blocking. They're gonna draw a card here, but they did have to like pitch it efficiently to do this, so it's kind of not that bad.
Actually, I just.
Oh, you pinned it. Okay, that's way easier.
You can apparently do.
Oh, okay. Technology. All right, looks like their hand's a bit clunky here, so we're just gonna Oasis the etchings here. I think that's reasonable. We're not gonna get life, but we will get the prevention, which is good. And hit that etchings. And then we'll go ahead and just AP1. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources to Plow Under, but Plow Under is not a terrible arsenal if this is all they're doing this turn. I'd say we're in pretty good shape. The one thing I also like about this list is there's a lot of prevention. Just like having Oasis is quite nice, and then also the seeds is quite good as well. Is there any other prevention? I think it's mostly just life gain on top of the prevention. So yeah, I think those are the only prevention effects, but those I think are very important just for Burdens right now, who I think is like one of the better decks. Oh hey, Forge, welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're doing some Budget Jarl stuff. That's pretty cool. I've been like toying around with this list for a couple days now. Just getting a couple games, and this list is like actually like I've been winning against decks that are like running CNC, running Codex, like just like very standard, like stock standard, like just good stuff decks. I think this deck's like kind of eats that alive. So I'm excited to play it. What are we doing here? So we can block with the Autumn Touching another Earth card in the bin, but I'd almost rather save it in case we want to just keep Coronet peeking. So I think we're just going to block with the Oaken Old Fiddler's Green. One thing that's important to note with like this style of Jarl list is that it's very okay to block with Oaken Old, especially in the early game, just because we have Remembrance in the deck, so we can buy it back later. Alright, looks like our opponent's going to blink their... Blinking their Gone in a Flash, so they could be setting up for a pretty good turn. Alright, current funnel, also not bad. So they're going to go again on the Gone in a Flash and presumably probably bounce it with another instant unless they have some other follow-up. Yeah, we're not going to do anything here. I think we're just going to keep sticking to the Coronet Peak plan. Because, like, if we basically put Ailio on a 4-card hand every single turn, it just makes it very hard for them to win. Yeah, but this list is, like, very surprisingly good. I think it's capable of beating a lot of the top decks. The only problem is, like, you sometimes do miss the expensive cards. And yeah, we're going to Signal Box here. I'm assuming they're probably going to have another instant here to just bounce this back and then, like, probably try to keep a 5-card hand. Alright, so there's another CLV, that's fine. Funny thing, at least, about CLV is that they don't get to trigger it since they've already hit this turn. So I think they drew the CLV off the CLV. Kind of funny. They end up sending a bit of Arcane here. I'm probably just going to AB3. Oh, they're pitching the Gone in a Flash. Interesting. Okay. Alright, so there's the Mind Warp. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep our blue, but that's fine because we can just dump our hand into this. Yeah, this deck definitely rewards people for blocking well. So they will get to keep another CLV around next turn, but they're still functioning on like a 4-card hand. Yeah, Felling and Plow is like a super big upgrade to like these budget lists. Like I think it actually makes like a budget Earth list like a lot more viable. Just because they're really not expensive. They're like, I think it's like less than $20 per playset. Let me double check that. But yeah, if I go here. Or no, sorry. Felling is still like $27 for a playset, and then Plow is $9. So it's like $30 for a playset, which is not bad. But yeah, I'm also a very big fan of seeing these in now kind of like in budget tier. Yeah, I think before, like, it's kind of crazy what they were, right? It was like a lot of money. All right, coming with the Burn Bear, presumably to keep the CLV around. That's fine. It's kind of awkward because I do want to just Plow them, but we don't have another Earth card in graveyard, I think. Or hold on. Sorry, why is this? Okay, sorry. It was like hiding it. It's kind of interesting. I think we do just have to like pitch here and then just like keep Coronet peeking them. We can't Plow under just yet, but that's fine. And again, their life total doesn't really matter. It's more so like their cards in deck at this point. We still have a couple Burn Bears to fight through, but not the end of the world. But yeah, I'm not a super big fan of having to pitch a bunch of reds there. Check my phone. Oh, like mute my phone. All right, love to see some cycling. So I think they're just 3 cards down off of cycling alone, which is also quite nice. So they basically milled 1/20th of their deck. Pretty nice. So a lot of these lists have been running a lot more like arcane heavy stuff, so I think AB3 is generally correct. But yeah, Ailio can always just kind of blow you out of nowhere. We have 2 more Sigil Brilliances to worry about. What are the other big threats? Mind Warps, the Etchings. Yeah, Queen Jarl. Super sick fit. Alright, looks like they're just dealing some arcane damage on our turn to maybe just draw some cards. This is fine. I guess they do get a little bit of value here, but like we're still kind of taking them off a card. Alright, this might be a good excuse to just use the seeds here. Depends a bit on what they do. We are a lower life total now, so the Oasis is also not bad. So I'm halfway tempted to actually just like Oasis or like double Oasis here and use like Rampart. I guess Rampart doesn't really help just yet, so maybe we're just going to go for 1 Oasis, pitch the seeds, and then just hold on to the Plow. and then the other Oasis as well. And it's kind of interesting. We could also just Seeds now. I'm gonna go for the Oasis because I feel like I might end up playing the other one. We'll block out the Flittering, gain a little bit of life. And yeah, we're still sitting at like 30, which is pretty good. We're halfway through the deck and still sitting at 30. So how much is the MP4? MP2, so that we can easily block that. That's fine. Yeah, we'll just go for the second Oasis here. Nice, fun, interactive gameplay. That's what it's all about. But yeah, like my goal with a lot of these like budget lists that I try to put together is I want people to be able to win games with these, because like a lot of budget lists, like you can take to an armory and then just go like 0-3 drop and then like not have a ton of fun. But this is a list where you can like take it to an armory and I guarantee you can win at least like 1 or 2 games. Especially if you like play it pretty well and you just block constantly. Like this is a list I think that people can at least like take and do pretty well with. I also kind of want to like show off the gameplay too, because I think that you do have to like lean very heavily into blocking. That I think maybe some people just like kind of aren't used to. I guess we can go ahead and maybe win that. I actually think we prevented all that, right? But yeah, we'll just keep passing here. Yeah, spamming the Solve Marlin list, that list is another list that I think is criminally expensive right now. I wish it wasn't, because it's like not actually even that good of a deck. But it is like a fun deck. But what does that list actually cost right now? Let me check. It's like $2,000 or something. This is the list I've been testing, secret list. So Unsolved Marlin. So this list is $2,000 again. Yeah. I think like I don't know. Like I part of me feels like a lot of that price point is like kind of unwarranted. But I think the biggest problem is just like the overlap of cards. Like so many classes want like specific cards, like especially like the generics and stuff, where like there's so much overlap that it feels bad. Like a ton of decks just like want the same cards, I think is like the worst part, I guess. Ooh, this Channel of the Bleak Expanse was like a spicy include that I didn't think was actually going to be relevant. But it looks like it actually might be relevant here, depending on what they do. Maybe just taking a setup turn here. But yeah, I guess in this case we can actually channel, right? Problem is still no Earth card. Mostly because I feel like they've been sending a ton of Arcane at us. So we can channel plus Coronet Peak here, which is pretty good. So we're still sticking to the original game plan. And I will say that this is a deck that will make you a lot of enemies if you take it to an armory, but I think it is like, I don't know, some people find this kind of style of deck to be a lot of fun. Each their own, you know. Right, so they cannot draw cards, search decks, or reveal cards. But yeah, we'll go ahead and just lean into A being this. So we ideally would like to try to put this plow in the graveyard so that we can get this plow out of Arsenal. It's not the highest priority. Again, we're like halfway through the deck and we're still sitting at 31. So we're not doing too bad. I think this is a good opportunity to just use the sink here. I do also want to potentially plow. We might need this plow for pitch. I think I'm actually just going to go for the D-React here. All right, Sigil Solace we do not care about, although they will get to set up the embodiment, which is fine. Yeah, ideally, if I can, I'll try to block with the plow under, but not a super high priority. But I mostly wanted to show with this list that you can like kind of put together a competitive list to like take to either ProQuest or just like play in paper, because I think that you know, a lot of fat decks are like unnecessarily expensive. Like a lot of these cards are very important, but like you can kind of get most of the way there even just with like most of the commons, right? Like I think the most expensive card is just the Rampart in this deck. And without the Rampart, I think the deck is like sitting at like 190, which is really not that bad. But yeah, I tried to baseline this to Magic decks. So I think the ones I was looking at, it's around like 376 is the price point. So I want to make it a little bit cheaper than that. So we're trying to do like under 300 is kind of the goal. There's also like a lot of upgrades. So this is probably the opportunity to block with the plow. I think we can actually just give the rampart here as well. Yeah, like a lot of people do not like playing against Jarl. And I understand why. Like he's kind of just like a generic pile that has like a couple busted cards like Oakenold and stuff. Like I understand why people don't like playing into this deck, mainly because you just like block a bunch. You don't really like spend a lot of your attacks at your opponents, so people don't find it very fun. But I think that like a lot of that problem comes from like Jarl's design and how they haven't printed a card for him in a while. I think it's more so like a card pool issue than anything. Okay, we'll go ahead and just AB3 this. That's fine. We got the other Earth card in the bin. The only problem is we just need to find the room to play out the plow. Yeah, we'll keep just blocking and passing. But yeah, like I empathize with people for not liking Jarl. Like I think there are some kind of just like boring play patterns to him. But like I think certain people just like this deck, and I also kind of like this deck. It's kind of nice to just have a very defensive deck in the game. I feel like you do have to like make a lot of decisions about like what to block, what to not block, that kind of thing. I will say if you want to take this deck to an armory, one thing that I see a lot of like newer players, especially like newer Guardian players, struggle with is just like going to time. So you do have to be very careful to like play this deck a little bit faster and like make sure that you're like trying to finish games with it. All right, we got the electromagnetic and sigil connectivity. So this signifies to me that they do not have another, like they don't have a way to give this go again, I don't think. I think actually, we were just blocking with these two. Healing the earth, and then I think we're just going to try to plow under them next turn. Could also just like discard the fruits and like pay an AB if we need to. Yeah, but I'm guessing here is that they don't have a way to give go again because they played the discharge first. But yeah, like Jarl is a deck that like seems a lot more oppressive to casuals, but like is really not a deck that's like super oppressive at like the competitive level, I guess. I think the biggest problem is he's just slow, and like sometimes you just like draw bad hands, and that's kind of like why he struggles, I think. Alright, so I think here we're just going to go for the plow, take them off the arsenal, which I think should be the Gone in a Flash unless they IP1. So actually, smart Ailio players, what they'll do is they'll actually not arsenal Gone in a Flash if they're trying to set up for the combo. I don't know if they're going to do that here, but we're going to try to see, maybe we're going to get the Gone in a Flash from arsenal. How many Gone have we seen? We've actually not seen a ton. Actually, they might have burned through most of their instants at this point. Like I think they have like 3 Gone in a Flash, maybe some Yellow Blast to Oblivion left. It's really not that bad for us. All right, and we found our Hungry for More, which is also nice. Although we do have to figure out how to play that is the only issue. All right, so this is super easy block. We go ahead and we can Rampart, pitching the Frozen. Could also try to hold on to the Frozen, but I'm not super attached to it. I feel like I'd rather just like root bound here. I guess we don't need to Hungry for More right away if we don't want to. Yeah, I don't like playing Fatigue either, but I think like the problem is they haven't printed a very good Jarl card in a while, so I think it's kind of like the best, like you kind of have to, is the only problem with it. But yeah, here I think we're just gonna get some Decompose going. Alright, yeah, the Lightning Press, that's fine. We might actually end up IPing a little bit here. Or still just going to try to reduce the damage as much as possible. I think this is like a little bit inefficient. We might have actually wanted to like block with Hungry for More if you're expecting Lightning Press. But yeah, we'll just go and get rid of that Thunderquake. Yeah, it's good that your locals are not giving you size. I feel like it's I don't know. There are plenty of other like oppressive decks in the game that I don't think Jarl's like actually that bad. We'll go ahead and felling them here. But yeah, this is kind of like what you want to be doing with the deck, is just like trying to block with your bad cards, and then once you find a good card to kind of line up, then you just play your good card. It's not a very complex deck, I will say. Like, a lot of the blocking decisions are like the most complex, but even then it's like, I don't know, you kind of just like throw your hand in front of an attack and just hope it works for the best. I think we've done a pretty good job of fatiguing the Ailio here, at least. So this may be like a good kind of showcase that you can like beat a competitively viable deck, even with just a pile of kind of cheap cards. I will say that a Hungry for More, I think, is a big upgrade for like the what do you call it? Like the more budget fatigue players, because like this card is like dirt cheap. What is this card? This card is like probably like 30 cents or something, right? I'll pull it up in a second, but yeah, we'll go ahead and decomp. And so unfortunately, we're kind of losing a bit of value on the Hungry for More there, but we're still sending felling, which is really good. Let me go back to the fatigue list. All right, Budget Jarl there is. But yeah, Hungry for More is like dirt cheap, right? It's like, how much is this? It's like Hungry. It's 78 cents, or it's a quarter for a playset of them. So getting extra 9 life for a quarter is pretty good. All right, looks like they might be getting ready to try to do a Ghana flash turn, but we've basically like stripped a card out of their hand every turn of the game, so can't imagine it's going to be that good of a turn for them. You should see my second round opponent last night. Dude was very clear about how miserable he was for the duration of the match. Yeah, like some people are just like that. I don't know. People are kind of toxic. Okay, we'll go ahead and Rampart here. We can maybe try to Arsenal the Pulse here if they don't do anything, or we could play the Pulse. Both are fine. But yeah, some people just like do not like fatigue, which is funny. Actually, it's kind of funny here. If they go for like a big Ghana flash turn, we do have the Pulse to take them off a resource. Okay, regarding sometimes you draw bad hands issue, how often would you say that you're setting up CLF pitch stacks with a bunch of ice as opposed to putting out CLF immediately? So I think the only real matchup where I try to set up a real CLF pitch stack is against Verdance, or at least the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. So that's when I'm trying to like save as many CLFs as possible for the turn that they try to like crack all their potions and stuff. But like if you're playing against like a Syndra, right, and you have the opportunity to play out a CLF, and not take a bunch of damage to do so, like I think that it's pretty reasonable to just like play it out against like a Syndra. So they will still get the Frostbite here, even though they're bouncing in response to the Pulse. So they still have to pitch a card here if they want to replay out the Gone on the Flash. I get miserable potence a lot as a Prism player. I'm not trying to turn this this into what do I say? I think like it's pretty reasonable to like oh, we still have our Rampart up, so actually they closed the chain, so we can do this now. I still kind of want to Coronet peek them, but maybe it's better to just deny the card draw this turn. Although denying the card draw next turn, I mean, they're gonna Arsenal a card anyway, so we might as well deny it now. I'm trying not to highlight how toxic some people in the Fab community are. Like, I think the Fab community is like fantastic, especially when you compare it to like the Magic community and stuff. But there's like a subset of people who do get like very butthurt about fatigue, and I can't like necessarily blame them because I feel like it's not the most fun thing to play against. But I do think that like I don't know, like it's kind of a skill issue. It's also kind of a skill issue to some extent. Like you can beat fatigue decks, you just have to do like very specific things. And some decks like just can't deal with it, and then it's not a lot of fun to like just slog through like a hour-long game, you know. Aggro players certainly have a feeling against fatigue players. Yeah, that's true, Alex. Okay, so they're gonna have a double Sigil Brilliance turn, but I don't know that we necessarily care. I mean, we have 9 block in our hand, and then we have the seeds for an extra 83, so this shouldn't be that bad for us. I would expect there to be another Ghana flash turn, but they've also burned through a lot of their instants at this point, so they might have like 1 extra blink. What other instants do they have? Maybe a couple discharges, and maybe like one or two more lightning press, maybe like a null shock, maybe like a sigil of aether. Interesting. I think it's really fun to fatigue out Gravy, personally. I love fatiguing Gravy with this deck. Yeah, CLF pitch stacking I think is really important to Verdance. But into like other heroes, it's like not as important because like a lot of time you don't really want to get to the super late game with like a CLF pitch stack. Oh, it looks like your opponent maybe wanted to interesting. They're gonna discharge first. Oh, maybe because they're constrained for action points because they don't have their Greaves up. So they're gonna go for the blast. Do we Rampart here? Probably not terrible to Rampart. Yeah, let's go ahead and Rampart and see what happens. I don't think our opponent can kill us on 12 cards. I mean, we have 6 block in hand. We have like infinite AB for pitch, so I'd say we're still fine. They don't give this go again, I guess it's a little bit awkward. But in that case, we can just like Cornet peek them. I don't know. I think it's really fun to fatigue out Gravy players. I know they don't enjoy it, but I enjoy it. Alright, so I think I'm expecting another Blink here. I'd be very surprised if they didn't play out a Blink. Okay, Comet Storm Shock. A current funnel. Alright, opponent's cooking something over here. Do I think it's possible to make a more proactive Jarl as viable? So I think Rob, I think Olin together, is his YouTube gamer name. I think he's also working on like a proactive version of this list, but I think that so like currently if you look at like the best CC Jarl lists, currently the trend seems to be like hard fatigue. Like this is one that Rob won I think some like 1k or 2k with. This deck is basically like a hard fatigue deck, right? The problem with like a proactive Jarl is they haven't printed good proactive Jarl cards. I think is the core issue. Ooh, we have an Oakenold hand here if we want to get a little bit greedy. I mean, we also don't have to Oakenold them, so I kind of just want to block with it almost. Yeah, part of me almost just wants to like block with this hand because like if we send an Oakenold, like I don't want to just like take a bunch of damage. So I think I'm just gonna like card here. Like I think there is like a greedy line where we can like potentially just like send an Oakenold and kill him that way, but I don't think that's actually necessary. But yeah, I think like if you look at like the trends in Jarl lists, like it seems like fatigue is currently the fad, mainly because they just like haven't printed a lot of incentive for Jarl to be proactive. Like we haven't gotten a good Jarl card in a very long time. I think what was the last like good Jarl? It was basically Everbloom, right? And that card's definitely like good and stuff, right? The only issue is just like it's not like proactive, right? Like Everbloom is just like a very defensive, grindy card. Like so they haven't really incentivized Jarl to actually be more proactive, even though that's like actually like the whole pitch with Jarl, right? Is that he was kind of billed as like, or like they kind of like sold him as like a more proactive Ice Guardian than he currently is. So we can actually deny a Sigil of Brilliance here if we pitch the fruits. Or alternatively, you can just like Cornet peek them. But I guess that's like the same, so I guess I'd rather just like pay now. Because we're denying a card draw like either way. Maybe there's like a little bit more efficient thing we could do, like maybe we weren't supposed to Rampart that turn. That's fine. Still staying healthy, and they have 5 cards left in deck, or I guess 10 cards total. So I think it is possible, like I think it's very possible to make a proactive fatigue. Like there have been people who've done quite well. Like I think Braxton, guy from the Colorado scene, he brought like a more proactive Jarl list to a pro quest this weekend, like top 8'd. Or I think yeah, he top 8'd. We paired in round 1 or 2 of top 8. But like you can definitely do that. I think this is just like a better kind of style list just for the meta right now. Question is, do I want to Rampart? Kind of don't want to Rampart. At least not yet. I want to kind of see what remaining stuff. So what are we expecting now? We're expecting... Yeah, Braxton I think had a lot more offensive power. I actually probably should have blocked the Macho there instead of the CLF, in case we wanted to CLF them on our turn. Yeah, like there's definitely like a pivot you can do where like if your opponents are expecting fatigue and you go more of like an offensive Jarl, it's definitely pretty good. The only issue with offensive Jarl is just like reacts exist, and like I don't know, if like Pummel is just like kind of a bad card if you like can't line it up in Jarl because it's 2 block. It's a very good card when you're ahead, but when you're behind, it's a lot rougher. So I don't know. Like I think there is definitely like a proactive Jarl list that probably exists out there. I just want to play the deck that I think has like a higher competitive success, just because like this deck is just like a fatigue pile, right? And fatigue piles do just generally do quite well. The only issue again with like fatigue piles like this is just finishing games can be a challenge, especially for like newer players. But if you like get enough reps with this deck, you should be able to close out like most of your games. Like I think this is currently a 33-minute game. We'll go ahead and pay for the Sigil of Aether here. I think we'll just pitch the fruits. I actually could have hold on to the fruits if we wanted to. Maybe Macho was a better pitch in case we wanted to just discard it. But yeah, like we're fatiguing like a fully kitted out Ailio list right now. So like this list has a lot of legs, I think, especially for a $300 list. Oh, someone had Braxton's list. He might see this video, or he might see this live stream at some point. I don't know if he like has his list available. But I also don't think that list is necessarily a budget list. I think he was running like CNCs and stuff. Like CNCs. I think he was on CNCs, E-Strikes. I think what other expensive cards he had. He had some expensive cards. Oh, he was using my list. Oh yeah, you're totally right. Hold on. Let me actually go find that list. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I think he was actually just using a old... Let me finish this game and I'll go find Braxton. Or I guess it's technically my list, but I associate it now with Braxton, which is very funny. Right, we can actually just felling them here if we wanted to. Yeah, I mean, it's probably better. Whatever. Hey, what's up, Electrum? Welcome in. Okay, get the Pulse, get the Felling, get the Terror Sunder. So yeah, I'll pull up Braxton's list here in a second. But yeah, we pretty much won that Ailio game, so don't mind me. So let me actually go through my old decks. So this list was, I think, pretty... Oh, it might have been this one. It might have been the 2 Wolves list. I think it might have been this, or like very similar to this, where I was running like 2 Frostfang. I think this list is like relatively cheap. We're running like the CNCs and the Mangles and stuff. Like this might be a decent starting point. I can actually grab this and post it as well. You might want Titan's Fist in this deck, but I think for the most part, yeah, the list is already there. All right. Yeah, Jarl's online. 8 cards in Banished. But yeah, this is the old like 2 Wolves list. I think there's also a video with this list where it had like 2 Frostfangs in the thumbnail. But yeah, if you're curious and you want to try out that list, I think that's maybe a more proactive style Jarl list. I'm kind of curious, how much is that list? We go 2 Wolves. How much is this? All right, this is like 1,200. Not much better in terms of price point, if I'm being honest, but it's you know, that's how Jarl is sometimes. All right, let's make sure we're not going to lose this game. So let's block with our Thunderquake here. I actually just block with a Fate Foreseen just in case they go for like big arcane spell. Oh, I think we still have some Burn Bears left. I think we have a couple Burn Bears, right? Or maybe they're only running 1, which seems weird. Alright, so now we'll Fate, I guess. Whenever you play an ice card, give a Frostbite. I think it would be worse, probably. I think it would be worse. Because I think, like, Jarl's, like, it is about, like, breaking equipment. So, like, I feel like his Earth sub-theme doesn't actually matter a whole lot. At least it feels like it doesn't matter very much to me. We could probably actually give the Coordinate Peak here, but maybe I'm just going to Rampart. There's, like, an argument to Coordinate Peaking, though. I still don't think we can die here. I think they want to let this resolve. Now bounce. So I think next block is going to be with Hungry for More plus Coordinate Peak, and then I think what other cards they even have left in deck. Maybe have like one or 2 arcane spells. I think maybe 1 etchings. Okay, that's what it is. Sure. and just pay. They get back a sigil here, which is not going to matter because they're on 3 cards. Oh, from the two wolves list, you're missing just a quick dodge. Yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of Frostfang. Is that what the card is called? I'm not a huge fan of this card, but like I have seen it do work. The only problem is like Verdance is around. I think Verdance is like Jarl's biggest struggle at this point. But yeah, aside from Verdance, like Frostfang I feel like does a bit of work against like Syndra. They just like block pretty well, or like they just like have to block it out and then you pummel it and it's pretty good. I feel like the Frostfang stuff, like this whole list gets a lot better with like Tunic. But yeah, we won our first game with our fatigue pile list. Again, only took 38 minutes. But yeah, I think this kind of goes to show at least kind of like the play patterns of just like blocking everything your opponent's doing and then just kind of like eventually sending some dirtily attacks, right? That's fair. Just because the recent Earth Hero has been templated got me thinking. Oh yeah, thanks for the congrats on the PQ. I'm happy with my performance. I wish obviously I would have gotten the LL points, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But yeah, I'm still pretty happy getting second place with Marlin, which is a bit difficult. But yeah, let's go ahead and grab the list again, see if we can find another game. Let's maybe try to find not Ailio, because I think this matchup's like very favored. Let's see if we can pair into this Gravy. Oh, okay. Gravy got taken. Who's in competitive CC? Let's not do the Jarl mirror. Let's not do the Jarl mirror. I did beat a Marionette earlier, but I don't necessarily want to do a streamer battle. See if we can find another victim. Maybe just queue in competitive CC. I want to see if I can get a deck that's less like arcane focused. All right, Dash IO is a pretty good one. So let's go first into Dio. This should be a cakewalk, but they do have a lot of play that they can do. And then we board out our staunches here, and then yep, seems. I think we can also board our remembrance. Oh, you're gonna dodge me anyway. Nice. Yeah, the feeling is mutual. Yeah, no arcane damage against Dio here. Yeah, I also do not have the time for that. But let's see if we can beat this Dio. Channel of Bleak Expanse is funny, but I don't know if that's necessary right this second. Kind of just want to... Actually just get this in the graveyard if we really wanted to. I think I'm just going to like overpitch and just send Fist for 3 though. So pretty good start from us. We're starting 2 points up, and then we're getting a Fate in Arsenal, which is also great. Ooh, opponent's on Hanabi Blaster. All right, this might be a little bit more difficult. I will say that I feel like the pistol is maybe a little bit easier for us to deal with. Maybe the Hanabi Blaster will do some work this matchup. All right, no blocks is interesting. All right, maybe we're gonna get stream sniped and they're gonna play out a null time zone. That'd be funny. That makes sense. I haven't come up with the Theo developments, so they're gonna name Channel Lake Frigid, which is fine. I'd say this is a pretty good start. The only problem with this is potentially Boom Grenade. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I think we're just going to try to stick to the plan of like Coronet peeking here. So we'll just go ahead and Fate here. Bottom or top the Felling? Let's bottom the Felling for now. We'll save that for late game. Gain a little bit of life here, so starting at a nice healthy 45. Okay, this seems fine. They want to just pass. I am a-okay with that. So we have some options here. We can actually Coronet peek ourselves, which is a neat trick you can do. Alternative play is we can just like sigil IP with the Fiddler's Green. I kind of like just like Coronet peeking them every turn though. Just so we keep them off the triple boost. I don't actually know if there's anything they can do about that, right? I guess like they just like play an item off the top and maybe that like offsets the them having to pay, but I think we're just gonna like not Arsenal the Fiddler's Green here and just pass. Alright. Pounder is annoying. And we can't play out the seal off here, which is also unfortunate. Interesting decision here. I feel like I almost still just want to keep peeking them. Peek them every turn. Kind of feel like we maybe just want to Arsenal the seal off. And then just like IP with the Fiddlers. I just want to take cards out of their hand like every single turn. Because like Dio will fatigue herself. Like we don't actually need to proactively fatigue her. Like with Hammer, right? Because she doesn't really have like a real weapon. Just like activating Coordinate Peak every turn is just very, very powerful. Oh, thanks, Fabton. I appreciate you appreciating our content. Yeah, also for viewers in the chat who don't know, we're also planning to do, I think, a 24-hour stream once we hit like 2K subscribers. We're still trying to find a charity to like donate towards. But yeah, once we figure that out, we're gonna probably schedule that for sometime in November. So I have a lot of fun ideas for that. So that'll be something to kind of look forward to. All right, we got the Pounder online. What are we doing here? All right, so I guess we'll get the Rampart here, which is also funny, I guess, anti-T-bone technology. And then Fiddlers, plus we could also start giving some armor here, but there's not really a super strong incentive. I kind of want to just like seal off on their turn, especially with the Cerebellum mount. I kind of think we just block with the Thunderquake. Do something like this. Let's not pay through the Rampart, I think. Oh, when do you expect to break your opponent's armor? Okay, so this is actually like a great question for this deck. So this deck does not have Mangle. This deck does not have Frozen to Death. Or sorry, no, it does have Frozen to Death. So the deck does not have any any equipment destruction other than Frozen to Death. So the only matchup where I'm like actively trying to destroy armor, I think, is against Gravy. Like I'm just trying to blow up Compass. But into like most other decks, I kind of just don't care. Like eventually their armor will break or they'll just like run out of cards. So I'm not actively like trying to break their armor with this deck, except in like very specific matchups. Which I think is a little bit different from like how a lot of people expect to play Jarl. Like you expect to like actively be wanting to like break your opponent's armor and like send Mangles and like do a bunch of hoops to like break your opponent's armor. But you like another way to kind of like also break your opponent's armor is to just like make them block with it, right? Which is a lot easier than trying to like do a bunch of hoops to like make your opponents do something or whatever. So that's basically how I'm trying to break most of my opponent's armor, is by like not trying to, and just eventually they'll break it themselves, right? Jarl's ability is secondary to the fact that he's just Earth and Ice. So that is the recurring trend. They printed Jarl, they gave him a bunch of cards, and then they haven't really given him much since. So there's not really like a ton of incentive to being like proactive and trying to use his hero power or whatever. Unfortunately here, our opponent's got some Teklo Pounders out, so this is a little bit scary. But I think we're gonna just keep Coronet peeking and being annoying. Yeah, I think that's the strat. We're gonna go and pitch the Oakenold here. Just need to keep them off cards every turn and just make them use things. The Double Pounder is definitely not great though. A little bit scared of that. We'll do our best here though. I mean, we're still sitting at 45, but Dio can do Dio things. They've also been doing a good job of like not banishing a ton off the top. So maybe we're playing against a pro Dio. Do you see the Jarl PQ winning run aura of this suspense? I've not. Is there some like suspense Jarl that's floating around? That's kind of cool. Yeah, Coronet Peak is kind of OP against decks that aren't running Tunic. What do we want to do here? So I do want to try to block out the Expedite, but what is the most efficient way to do so? Do we have Decompose yet? Almost. I think I'm just going to give a piece of armor here. So this is blocking 4, and then we can Oasis after and just like do a mini root bound. Let's do like this, I guess, then. Pitch the fruits here. Yeah, block as much as possible here. Yeah, I think Jarl is definitely in just the expansion slot waiting room. I'm kind of surprised that we had 2 Guardian sets and then saw no new cards for Jarl, which is like maybe they just like didn't really know what to do yet or whatever. Interesting. Our opponents. Okay, I'm fine with this. Sure. I mean, we can also play the passing game. Like, if they're not gonna like play out cards, this is fine. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that they didn't print new Jarl cards. Because I think he's like, they printed Armory deck, and he's like a really cool hero that a lot of people really like. But the support for like being proactive as Jarl has just like not been there, which is unfortunate because like I think it would be really cool to have like a more proactive style Jarl list that's trying to like disrupt your opponent and do stuff. But like, it seems just that like the fatigue style they're incentivizing more heavily, which I think is like not as fun, to be honest. But it is more competitively stronger. Like, I think that's the biggest pro of this list. Yeah, he does feel like more like an elemental hero. I think Rob's kind of nailing it on the head there. All right, Zipper Hit coming in. I think we're just going to keep blocking. I think we're going to save this for Coronet Peak and just Arsenal the Oasis. And keeping them off cards seems pretty good. We're going to take a little bit of damage here, but I think that's fine. I just want to take a card out of their hand basically every single turn. Max P is pretty good, but that does only put us to 34, so we're still ahead on life, which is kind of funny. If we can take a little bit more damage, we can even get some value out of our Oasis, which is fine. Yeah, keep peeking. Just keep peeking. Eventually the Dio will fatigue themselves. It is kind of just a matter of time. Just Boom Grenade gone. Fantastic. Hungry for More has made an appearance. I don't think we've actually like meaningfully resolved this card. Yeah, I think that's probably a good theory, is that like they just kind of like have not had the time to like prioritize Jarl. Let's actually go ahead and just play out the Hungry now, because they tapped out, so we'll get this turn sooner. There's actually maybe an argument to playing it on our turn because we have the Oasis in Arsenal, I guess. But also not super high priority. So I seen 2 Pounders down. We're still taking a card out of their hand every turn. If we could just also deny them using the Blaster, I think that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, maybe they thought the Guardian cards would be better for Jarl, but I feel like they've printed so many Guardians, right? Like, we have Balda, we have Lyeth, we have Pleiades, we have Bravo, we have Jarl. Is there another Guardian that I'm forgetting about? Betsy, we have Betsy, right? We have Victor. We have 7 Guardians in the format right now, and they just like have not been good for a very long time. Yeah, 4 Guardians in less than 12 months, and they're all bad. I mean, they're not all that bad, but like they are kind of bad, right? I don't know. It's disheartening, but also I don't know. I feel like the class just like struggles, especially with like how limited the action points are. Yeah. Yeah, Jarl was a pretty good list for like 2 weeks, but I think he's not even a good list because of like the Jarl cards. He's more of a good list because of generics historically, right? Alright, our opponent's doing some things here. We got a Cerebellum online. Looking like a pretty scary turn. Yeah, like the Guardians right now are playable. It's just not like... The problem is they get eaten alive by Verdance, they get eaten alive by Gravy. Like those are kind of like the 2 biggest issues, and then they get eaten alive by like Florian, right? Like Florian is kind of just like a better Guardian than a lot of the ones they've printed thus far. Alright, we do ideally want to stop this Boom Grenade trigger this turn. So I think the best way to do that is by ramparting, and we can also punish them if they do that. So let's sorry, do we have Decompose? Yeah, we do. So let's go ahead and rampart and then Rootbound. Yeah, like Guardian has tools to be good into 2 different matchups. It's just like there's so many matchups that are like super polarizing where you need like different tools for a different matchup, right? Which makes it like you have so many different like fronts to fight with just the Guardian card pool that it's very hard to make like an 80 that can beat everyone, right? I feel like this does a pretty good job of getting like most of the way there. This might be good. We could actually like take the Oasis here if we want, or we could just use the Oasis now, even though we're not going to be gaining life. Yeah, I think Guardian just like currently struggles in the current meta, which is unfortunate. I think that there are just a lot of cards that like keep Guardian like just out of the hero viability pool, I guess, for lack of a better word. All right, show them both of these. I assume they're gonna take the Autumn's Touch here. Oh, they're not taking the Autumn's Touch. So in this case, we can just pop Well Grounded. Seems fine. We could have also just given the Gauntlets. I think it's reasonable as well. Alright, another max V, so we're going to be taking a lot of damage here, but we do actually get the Rampart value at least. Not even that bad. Can we block this out, though, is the question. So we got 1 Prevention Floating. We're going to get another +1 on the Rampart, so it's 6. We could theoretically give up Coronet Peak. I also don't feel like we necessarily need to. I think this is fine. We're going to leak a little bit of damage, but we'll make that back at some point. Opponent got their good turn. Yeah, I don't think it's worth losing Peak either. Our opponent will run out of cards eventually. We just have to keep believing. We have a weapon. They kind of have a weapon-ish, but not really. We've seen roughly half their deck, and they're fat decking us, so they were in a pretty good spot. I'm actually kind of surprised how good Tectonic Crust is in this deck for, like, just a Barkskin replacement. Like, you miss the Embodiment of Earth, which is painful, but, like, other than that, it's, like, just 2 Earth Temper, right? Oh, yeah, that's true. We have seen 2 Max Vs, and we have a third one in Banish, right? Or no, sorry, the second Max V is the one in Banish, so they have 1 more Max V. But yeah, we're still sitting pretty at 30, so I don't know if I'm too concerned, although Dio can definitely deal 30 damage out of nowhere. Yeah, they banished 1, and then they played 1, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, I think they recruited up the, or was it the backup protocol? Alright, Rent Broom Grenade is definitely a priority to block out, so we will do just that. I think we're still pitching the Glacial here. So we pitch the Plow Under, it does... Maybe the Plowmouth is better. No, because like I want to like Coronet Peak them, but like maybe it's better to just like pitch the blue in case they somehow close chain. I guess they still have the Cerebellum out, right? So that's an excuse to put close chain. So I think we should actually pay into the Rampart so they can't Cerebellum. I think that makes sense. Because then we have 1 extra floating in case we can repay into Rampart, and then we have 1 floating for the Oasis. So I think unfortunately we're not peeking them next turn, but it's not the end of the world. We do have to be careful about our Seeds of Tomorrow. I think we pitched 1 early in the game, so we have like another one that's still alive in the deck. Seeds is a little bit of a risky card. Alright, they're going to Achilles. Sure. Alright, close chain means we can pay into the Rampart again, which is great. Alright, Spark is also whatever. I mean, our opponent's probably going to have a pretty good turn here. I imagine we're going to be able to block most of the damage. How many Boom Grenades have we seen? That's actually a pretty good question. We have 1 yellow, which hit, and then we have 1 red on the field. We have 2 Cerebellums down. We got a lot of good threats out of the deck. I think I'm mostly worried about Boom Grenades at this point, though, and they have not used Dio yet. And they're cranking the backup protocol maybe to buy back another Max V. That'd probably be the best target. Alright, we got -2 cards. Fantastic. Two yellow Boom Grenades gone. Fantastic. Love that. God, I love to see like Miller's Grindstone on a piece of equipment. You love that. Okay, so we have 1 action point. Do not use Dio. Navi Blaster is poised to smack us. Right, Gauntlet's scary. What is Gauntlet doing? Maybe Heist or something? An Outpace. I think Gauntlet doesn't work on that, right? S costs 2 or greater. So I guess we can't block with the Rampart yet, but that's fine. I think we're going to attempt to Oasis this at least. How many times have they boosted this combat chain? I think they boosted twice. So if they have like a 0 cost, potentially get another max V here. It's not completely outside the realm of possibility. Alright, there's Throttle. So we're definitely ramparting here. I feel like let's maybe start giving some equipment as well. We get +1 on the ramparts. Probably gonna get smacked with the Hanabi. I don't know if there's much we can do about that. If we leak a Boom Grenade, I think that's also fine. We've gotten them to like 26 cards in deck. So we're not doing too bad. I want to try to hold on to the peak if I can. Alright, just Hanabi, so that means the Boom Grenade is not getting value. That's great. So fantastic for us, I think. And it looks like they might not end up getting value out of the backup protocol. Yeah, I think we navigate that turn pretty well. Unfortunately, we're still not able to use our Coronet Peak, but that's not the end of the world. We can block out a Boom Grenade. I think it's probably better than peeking. Tekla Core is scary, but they are going to lose a lot of items. Can buy back something with the backup protocol, which is maybe the scariest part. So maybe our opponent's going to get like a Fast and Furious here. Maybe something better. Alright, getting back a max V. So we might be in a little bit of danger. Mainly because we've been max V'd like 3 times. We can still, I think we can still win this. And our hand blocks like pretty well, actually. So as long as we're not getting like max V'd plus red Boom Grenade, we might be in okay shape. But they do have 2 red Boom Grenades left in the deck. So we're still not completely out of this just yet, I think. Right, there's Throttle. Let's... it's interesting. We could actually give up the Tectonic Crust, which would open ourselves up to like playing our own Boom Grenade off the top, which we know they have 2 of left. So the question is like when the Boom Grenade is coming. I think we want to Rampart at the earliest possible convenience, so maybe I'm actually kind of leaning towards using the Crust here. If I'm suspecting that a Boom Grenade is coming off the top. If the Boom Grenade is not coming, then maybe this doesn't make as much sense. I feel like we're let's try it. I feel like maybe this Tectonic block is wrong, but we know that they have 2 left in the deck, so I'm like a little bit scared. Oh, sorry. Oops. We probably should sink below there. My bad. Oh, be mindful of T-Bone. Maybe that's actually a good point. I passed React, so I don't want to like cheat. But yeah, T-Bone I guess is pretty bad, but like we're almost at the point where we don't need Coronet Peak, right? I almost am like not worried about getting T-boned. I'm gonna block like this because I made the block originally, and like they could have had a Boom Grenade here, so I don't want to like completely change my play. Yeah, we're definitely getting to the point where we don't need Coronet Peak as much. Let's go ahead and sink though. We have plenty of Earths. I think we're just like not sinking this hand. Could definitely die. Yeah, I think the most interesting decisions about Jarl are typically the blocking decisions. I feel like the attacking decisions are fairly boring, but like the blocks are interesting because like you have to think about like what's left in their deck, right? So we see 2 red T-bones. This is their banish zone. We've seen 1 red T-bone here. We've seen all 3 red T-bones actually. That's good information. And then we have 1 blue T-bone here, and then we have maybe another blue T-bone somewhere in the deck. If they're playing blue T-bone, like I'm kind of okay with that. They just want to pass. Sure. I am a-okay with this. Sounds good to me. I mean, our opponent has 20 cards left in deck. We have 35. So I'd say we're doing quite well. All right, let's keep sticking to the plan. So whoops, we'll Rampart here. Keep gaining some life. This hand's like a little bit scary if they end up having a Boom Grenade because we're probably going to eat it. I think I'm fine to just like Oasis this maybe. Could have also saved the Oasis in case they play a Boom Grenade off the top, and maybe that's a bit better. Actually, I think that Oasis might have been wrong. But we did get at least max value out of it. Okay, so the heist is interesting. That means they can get back the boom. So I'm actually kind of regretting using Oasis now. But we can still use Root Bound plus Coordinate Peak, and that would block out them getting a Boom Grenade or a backup protocol. I think I'm kind of fine with this. I think we'll not decompose this just so we can have it. Oh, is this for the complete guide for the budget deck? I'm not going to do a complete guide for the budget deck because I think that this deck does kind of play itself. I think for like the more fatigued Jarlists, that could be an interesting video. People like their complete guides. All right, so Technical Foundry Art. So I think this is the max fee, right? Okay. So we're going to be taking 14 here, but we're going to gain 6, so we're... we actually should have Rampart there. Alright, so it's Rampart first. Get up to 2. So we're going to be taking 12 here, gaining 6, so we're taking 6 total. So still not that bad. I guess we're taking an extra 5 here, so a little bit scarier. So 13. Opponent has 15 cards left in deck. And then how many red Boom Grenades have we seen? We've seen 2 reds here. We have 1 more red Boom Grenade we have to worry about. But yeah, the Fatigue Jarl, I think Rob actually has a really good video on his channel if you want like the kind of like more Fatigue Guide style videos. I think Rob put together like a tournament report of this list, I think, which we were kind of talking about earlier. So Rob, if you're in the channel, I'm plugging your video. I think it's... Hold on, let me pull it up on another screen and see if I can find that video. Let's go back to the game. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, I think let me plug the video here from Rob, but I think he does a good job explaining. Yeah, Guardian is back on top. So yeah, I think this guide's like a little bit shorter, but I think if you like the kind of style of yeah, there's Rob's video. I don't. Does the video show on here? Could be wrong. Maybe I'm not using the CYB one. Maybe this is like the initial one you posted. Yeah, I'm not sure. So opponent has a decent amount of armor. I guess we're just gonna plow here, and then like Arsenal Terra Sunder. Could also Terra Sunder, but the problem is they have armor. Oh, that's from the event. That's the problem. Okay, yeah, I think there's like a CYB Fatigue Jarl one. Yeah, I think there's... Hold on. Let me see if I can pull up your list. Let me go to my decks. Let me go to... I think I favorited it somewhere. It's like CYB2. It's this one, right? Yeah, it's this one with the video. Yeah, alright. Let me post this one, actually. This one has the more up-to-date one. Yeah, I think that one's the better one. But yeah, we'll Arsenal the Terra Sunder here. We might actually just use it for Seeds of Tomorrow fodder. Opponent's also got 3 counters on the Tech Locust Pounder, but I'm not sure how much that's actually going to matter. I wonder how many more times they're actually realistically able to boost. I feel like we did a pretty good job of like not getting greedy this game, though. Just blocking out, doing good value math. Oh, excited to get the tournament report from the second place Marlin PQ. I think I have that video on the channel already if you want to go watch it. But yeah, that video should be pretty good in terms of like just covering at least a lot of the theory with the deck and like kind of the games and stuff. Yeah, hope you enjoy that one. But yeah, hopefully trying to get some more LL points this weekend. We can bottom that Oakenold. I think that's fine. But yeah, super close to getting Marlin's first LL points. But we'll get them next weekend. Got some more ideas for the deck, so I'm going to try those out. I think the biggest win percentage we can get for right now in terms of like Marlin stuff is seeing budget with Fellings and Plows hurts because I wanted to place that. Yeah, that's like the bad part about like reprints, right? Is like it feels really bad if you're like a new player. You bought your playset of stuff, right? And then like you immediately notice now that it's like a million times cheaper, right? This at least strips a card from hand here because they can't like just give armor to this. They have to give another card. I guess it's fine. But yeah, I'm excited for this weekend. I think I have 2 potential pro quests I can go to. I think I'm definitely going to one, but the other one I might not go to depending on how burnt out I get. But yeah, I'm definitely going to one this weekend, so we'll see how I do on that one. All right, get some armor here, which is great. I think they have one more max V left. So you have one max V here. We have another max V here. They could have one more still in the deck, but if we can take them off cards every turn, that might not be that bad. Oh, in Arkansas, we only have 2 total, so hoping to get there with Rob's Jarl list. Yeah, good luck to you. Hope you do well. I think that list, Rob's like non-budget Jarl list, I think is really good. I think you can definitely like at least get to top 8 with the pro quest of that list, if not just like win it outright. I think it's a deck that not a lot of people are practicing to, so you might get a lot of equity just at people like not knowing the fatigue matchup and stuff. All right, so this is probably going to be the last turn where I'm really scared. So I imagine here they're going to try to just use their last max V or something. Oh, sorry, Alaska, a bit more remote. Sorry, I forgot that AK is Alaska, not sorry, AR. I'm forgetting my United States. All right. Titan's Fist Block is getting a little bit of think here. But yeah, Alaska, it seems like there's not a ton of pro quests. I imagine there's probably a lot of driving you have to do. A lot of driving and or flying, I hear, in Alaska. All right, they blocked with the max V. Wait, actually, that's huge for us, right? All right, so they... Oh, wait, did they not want to block with the max V? They want to revert? Yeah. All right, maybe they want to revert and... Okay. Yeah. They can revert if they want to. Yeah. I mean, if I revert to the start of this turn. Oh, all right. Revert to start of previous turn. All right. Is this okay? This is what they want to do. Okay, cool. Yeah, it would be a lot nicer to win locally than winning 6 hours away. That's pretty rough. I had to travel 2 hours to Wyoming for the last pro quest. 2 hours one way, so 4 hours in total. So that was a fun road trip. Gonna need our opponent to make the block here. Okay, so zipper hit. We have 5 cards left in deck. So they could theoretically triple boost here and then play out some stuff. So I'm scared of Boom Grenade, but I don't know if we can actually play around at this point. So I think we're still just like using the fruits here. Yeah. I think that we use the Rampart early so that we're playing into Cerebellum. Could basically just kill us off the top though. So if they are able to max V here, I think we're probably dead. Right. T-Bone. Not blocked, so it's fine. Where's their last red Boom Grenade? I don't think they played it, right? So, I mean, it might just be on top. Still don't think we should block this, though. Alright, so now they end on the max V. Block 3 here. So I don't think we're dead, right? Or are we dead? Block 3 here. Block 5 here. We go to 1. And then I don't think they can Hanabi afterwards, right? Because they need to pay for this, right? So now they're out of cards. and they have no action points. And we can also just Rampart again. Yeah, so I think we're fine. The only thing we might lose to is over. No, not even overpower kills us because they only get 2 counters out of it. Yeah, I think we just barely got there. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just sink below. GG's. Barely got there against a Dio. This is maybe one of those matchups where you kind of miss some of your other D-reacts and stuff. But yeah, we're doing a good job of fatiguing. So we fatigued a Dio and a Ailio, which I think are like 2 pretty good matchups for us. Let's see if we can find like a bad matchup. I want to see if I can find like a Burdens or a Gravy or something. But yeah, Arachne we could do, but I feel like that's also going to be like a super late one. 2-0 with the deck. It's pretty good. I'm proud when I can build a budget deck that actually I'm able to like win with on camera. Ideally, would like to find a Gravy. I think that's like one of the more interesting matchups. So let's, I guess, go ahead and make another game. Oh, we shouldn't have balance in this list. Wait, did I grab I grabbed the wrong list. I grabbed Rob's list. Okay, we're not gonna play that list. Sorry, we're gonna play the Griefer list. Sorry. Yeah, I think Rob accidentally started playing your list. I'd probably do a KO though if we got another KO. All right, another Huntsman. Let's see if we can do CC. That's another Dio. Find like an interesting matchup. Could do a Dory, but I feel like Dory is another one of those ones that just like goes super deep into fatigue. Yeah, I kind of agree with most people not knowing how to play into fatigue. I think it takes like a lot of skill and like you can make a lot of very minor mistakes.
Just play Kano.
Yeah, just play Kano. That's Tegan's strat. We could play against a Marlin or a Fang. I think those are both interesting. KO underhand. We could try this. I think they might be able to outvalue us, but we can give it a shot. I think this is a Sledge matchup if I'm not wrong. And then I do think a lot of them are on sigils. Okay, they probably want to leave. Let's try that one. Nope. Okay, we're trying to find a game here. Sooner rather than later, hopefully. I want to find like an interesting one to end the stream off of. Not the same Arachne. Okay. Come on, Arachne. That's the same KO. Okay. We've entered the infinite Talishar loop. We could do a Katsu, but that's not super exciting. Ira's like a little bit of a tougher matchup. Let's give it like a minute or 2. Riptide is free for the most part. I think Riptide for the most part just dies a Sledge. Could do a Marlin. Not opposed to Marlin. Oh, you forgot your Shelter and Heart proxies? That's funny. I actually just got a heart recently. Bruh. Arachne needs to find a lobby.
Is it Huntsman?
Yeah, it's Huntsman.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'm not gonna end the stream on a Huntsman game.
That would be fucking riveting.
Could do a Mario. I've been beating Mario's pretty well. Alright. Either of these, anything new? Another Ailio, Alright, we gotta find some content here. Dio's not more content. Boo. Turn it into a blitz deck and just play some competitive blitz at this point. Alright, whatever we can play. Whatever we can play that's not Ailio and not... Okay, Kasai's fine. Let's do Kasai. So I think this is a Rampart matchup, right? I think it's a Rampart matchup. I think we want Titan's Fist just for clearing allies. And then Scar is potentially interesting. I don't know if you need Scar, though. It's kind of just like a crappy 2-block. Alright, hold on. How does Rob board into Kasai? Let's take a look. It's Katsu. Alright, what are you boarding in? No poisons, amulets. They are bringing the Midas touches. Alright, we're gonna like buy space off Rob's list and see how that goes. So 68, running Rampart. Is Rob also running Rampart? Yeah, Rampart Fist. Okay, we're gonna do it. Howdy, howdy, how's it going? Hello, Mr. Chips. We got the turn 1 crumble, which is nice. We could also crumble plus CLF if we want to. But then we lose the frozen. Oh, I guess the bad thing is they refresh their dynamos, right? So it's not even that good to crumble the dynamos. Yeah. Kind of fine just taking a tempo play and just like maybe blowing up their grains here. I think I'm okay with this. Oh, thanks, Mr. Chips. I appreciate that. Yeah, I hope you all enjoy the videos. We got some fun ones planned. Ooh, Rich's turn 1 is interesting. Let's this is a matchup where I think Coronet Peak also does a lot of work, so I want to try to leverage that here if we can. We're not threatening gold, so I maybe just want to Rampart here just for the 1 value. And take 1 damage so our Oasis is live. Ooh, okay, we did get punished here. I guess it's not that bad since they're not going to be able to... Like, we can just kill it on the next turn. It's not the end of the world. That is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, we could have also Oasis that if we really wanted to. Oh yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I try my best to try to like explain my plays and stuff. So I think we're just gonna Oasis the Sellsword, and then next turn we're just going to kill the this entire Sellsword. It is a little bit unfortunate here because that means we're like not peeking them. I think that's fine. Alright, so we'll take the turn off, just take care of the Sellsword. If I get double Fearless Confrontation, I got owned, I guess. But yeah, I hope it's like educational and stuff. I'm trying to do like a little variety of content lately. I know a lot of people like the Marlin stuff, but not a ton of people like to play Marlin to begin with, so I like to kind of branch out a little bit. So we got the Satari Saber coming in. We can block it and then staunch the next thing if we want to just use a blue. We only have 1 Earth card in graveyard. Kind of like me just using the staunch here so we can sit on the sink. Yeah, let's go ahead and just use the Rampart as much as possible this game, I think. Oh, sorry, hold on. We're supposed to Rampart plus block with the card. I'm just losing my mind here. Alright, so Rampart here, block with the Plow Under. Oh, I guess blocking with the Plow Under is kind of bad. So we block with the Frozen. We do this. Okay, we pitch the Thunderquake and then block like that. Okay. That's how we deny the copper there. Yeah, I try to like mix it up a little bit. I know that people kind of like do get bored of just like the same hero or deck like all the time. I try to just like I kind of try to keep to like a theme of like what I want to do. So like if I want to like highlight a particular matchup, this is interesting, I guess. Maybe getting punished here. I don't really want to staunch a hot streak. Kind of expected them to do something as opposed to not do something. All right, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna skill this into a blue. That's the strat. Okay, perfect. Cool. So now we can just keep Coronet peeking them. But yeah, this is a matchup where I think we want to try to leverage Coronet peak. I think if we kind of look back to like the Rob stream we did, I think that was like a key thing that I missed in this matchup is that you want to be Coronet peeking as much as possible, especially in like the early game where you can just like take cards out of hand. All right, it seems like they maybe wanted to pitch a different card there. All right, pitching a Blood on our hands, that's fine. I appreciate that, Mr. Chips. Thanks. I hope you also like the random little memes we throw in the videos too. I think those are kind of our favorite part. Let's go ahead and just block with the Scar for Scar here. It's just a 2 block, but fatigue value. Yeah, this list is only... So if you want to include the Rampart, this list is just under $300. But if you don't want to include the Rampart, which is also totally viable, this list is only... how much is this? I think this list is only like $190. So I'd say it's like a pretty affordable list. Hoping that they use something here so we can just staunch this. But if they don't, then that's fine. Okay, Provoke is fine. We'll just give them a Thunderquake here. Alright, and I think we're just going to Coronet peek. Oh, you just started Fab? That's awesome. Yeah, how's it been going? What have you been playing? I think it's really fun to play Fab for the first time. I almost wish I could like go back and like relive the memory of just getting like absolutely owned at an armory. It's kind of cool that you can just like start off like not knowing a lot of things, and then like eventually over time you just get a lot better at the game. I think that's like one of the coolest things about this game is it's like feels very skill intensive, right? Like compared to like Magic, where it's like you draw bad, you don't draw bad. That's probably one of my favorite part of this game is just like the skill ceiling is like very very high, right? Which is something I like. We could just like our opponent's playing like pretty passively here. I just like end up taking the 2 and then just like overpitch. Kind of fine to just take 2. They're not like presenting anything. I don't really want to waste reacts on it. We're just gonna preserve a little fatigue value here, I think. Oh, have I given thoughts on more sideboard arrows to Marlin? Oh, you're in Pleiades with timing the big turns is technical. Yeah, Pleiades is, I think, a really good new player deck. I know a lot of people have had pretty good reviews of that deck. I've not picked it up myself. I'm not really like a Pleiades expert. But yeah, I think that deck is a lot of fun. Have you given more thoughts on sideboard arrows for Marlin? Blue fatigue shot is my bet. So I think blue, like a lot of the blue arrows, it's kind of interesting in Marlin. We can talk about this for a bit, but I think in general for the blue arrows, I like to try to main deck those as much as possible because like having blues in your sideboard that you want to play in the majority of other matchups is like kind of awkward. What are we gonna do here? We could just like sync below this if we wanted to. Maybe like sync below this Oaken here. Save it for later. Fiddler's Green is nice. But yeah, I'd say like Marlin, a lot of the blue arrows you don't actually want to be sideboard, ideally. But you can think about like I think a lot of the blue arrows you kind of want to like just tech for the meta as opposed to like because the sideboard space feels very very constrained on Marlin. I think it's like my main takeaway. But yeah, blue fatigue shot's not bad. I've tried it before. I will say that if you want to run blue fatigue shot, I think it's like better in the main deck over like sleep dart or like drill shot or something. I think that's like an interesting spot for it. But yeah, okay, we have another hot streak coming in, so we do want to deny the gold here. I think Oasis is probably the best way to do that. And then we can also Rampart later if we want, and then like play out the Hungry for more. Yeah, this seems fine. Yeah, Aurora playing Aurora was pretty funny. Yeah, I like that video. I also did not like Aurora as a hero as much as I thought I would. Okay, this is interesting. I'm gonna go for the Blade Flurry. I do want to try to deny the copper as much as possible here. But it's awkward now. I think we're just gonna let them have 2 copper. 2 copper is not the end of the world. Maybe we should have blocked a little bit more. Maybe it's on me. So let's now block. The Rampart's like also really awkward here. I want to navigate this so we can do this. I want to play out the Hungry for more. And I also need like 3 block here to deny the second round of copper. Maybe we just do this. But this also feels like kind of weird. I guess maybe this plays around like another attack react or something. But yeah, now I guess we get to Hungry for more. So what we're really trying to do this game is deny as much gold as possible. That's like our main lose condition is just like raise an army. Yeah, the only downside about streaming, we must have been doing streams so that Tegan can like focus on the Zen doc and stuff, which I think we have the next part coming out hopefully end of the month. But the downside of streaming is like we don't get to do the funny little memes and stuff, which I know people like. So we try to do like a balance between that. Yeah, this matchup definitely seems like it's a bit rougher without like Everbloom and what's the other one? Yeah, the Fable, the Hard to Find All. I think we're just gonna try to stuff the Saber here with the Staunch. If they have another, like Blade Flurry, this could be really rough. But I think we're gonna just try to Staunch here. Could like overblock and then they could end up like Blade Flurrying. But if they have that, so be it. But yeah, I'd agree. Initially, this matchup feels quite worse than without it. Yeah, this block's fine. They have another pump. They're gonna get three copper. But fortunately, they don't have another pump. Okay, that's good for us. All right, we're at 50 cards in deck. They have 51. I think we're still peaking. And then we'll Arsenal a Sigil, make them think we're sitting on like D-React or something. All right, they drew into Blade Flurry, but pitched it for later. So our main goal here is to run them out of go again. All right, there's another Raisin Army in pitch. All right. Interesting. I think I just want to fake this. Scar for Scar is not doing us much favors here, but it's mostly just a card for fatigue padding. Let's see if we can win without the Everbloom and the Heart, though. I'm kind of trying to see if we can push ourselves here a little bit. I have been impressed by Hungry for More, at least in this kind of style Jarl. Seems like it's pretty decent. Alright, we gave him the glint value, but it's fine. Wonder when they're going to start activating Kasai. I don't want to just potentially look to Arsenal the Pulse here, and then just like play out the Sigil. So we'll just block one here functionally. Not the end of the world. Pulse and Arsenal is a bit rough, but we also have some of our Seeds tomorrow coming up, I think. Alright, just keep peeking. No think, just peek.
What?
What? What did I say?
Oh no, not you.
Oh, Tegan's playing Halo.
I've just never seen that happen ever.
Okay. Yeah, Tegan did something weird in Halo. Alright, Kasai's been activated. Alright, and we got a hot streak coming in. Part of me just wants to kind of staunch this, or not staunch, pulse this. We could also just give a little blocks on the front. I want to just block with like the Frozen here, honestly. Let's go ahead and block Frozen, I think. This feels so degen. Like if I did this at Armory, people would hate me. Don't think just peak sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, this is like I think this is like actually a really terrible deck to give to a new player because it gives them like a bad impression of like what the game is like. So sorry Saber coming in for 4.
Also, this is a budget build, not a new player build.
Yeah, this is a budget build, not a new player build. New players should not play this deck. This is for seasoned griefers. Only people who are seasoned in absolute hatred should play this deck. I think I just overblock here, like respect the 7 maybe, and then like hold on to this for peak value and sit on the pulse. If they somehow pump over this, I might invest a little bit more, but like, yeah. There is a certain point in the game where we want to stop peaking, but I don't think we're at that point yet. Maybe that armor give was like a little bit wrong, but like I think most Kasai pumps are +3, and if we can stop the gold, that does keep them off allies. Yeah, like this deck is quite the I don't know. I feel like it's like definitely a deck like kind of like Huntsman, where it's like a deck for people who like to grief their armory as opposed to like just play normal decks. We have a lot of or we had a lot of locals in Portland that were like that. We had one local, Steven, who was definitely more of a griefer than a normal deck player.
Best part about him is he was good at the game. Like he was really good at
yeah. Steven was also notably very, very good at the game. Any heroes that just auto lose to this? I don't know if there are any auto Dio I feel like feels pretty favored. Any mechanologist feels quite favored, except like maybe Max or something. We could actually action cards. Okay, so we cannot block with like Earth Equipment here. Kind of still want to just like deny the on hit if we can. Maybe we just like give the Thunderquake here and respect it. I think I'm kind of okay with this. I just want to keep them off as much gold as possible here. think that's the best way to do it. It seems it's not bad. Yeah, the biggest like downside to decks like this and Huntsman, right, are just like going to time, especially at armories, is like rough, and like people will hate you for it, for lack of a better word. I think that's like the biggest downside to decks like this, especially like high level competitive play, is just like finishing on time. We have seeds. I kind of want to just seeds the sigil here, just so we use up our seeds. Yeah, we're gonna say no blocks on this. I don't have any yellows in the graveyard, so we also aren't super incentivized to block here. I kind of also wouldn't mind root bounding here if they're not gonna give us a react. Let's get our first decompose online so we can maybe play a felling next turn. That doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, Huntsman, if you're a seasoned Huntsman expert, that deck seems like a lot of fun. I guess we're not going to get the chance to use seeds here, but we can at least felling. Leave a felling. I probably should have left the crumble too. That's my bad. And just get rid of Thunderquake. Yeah, like, I think the biggest, like, there's a social aspect, right, to playing a fatigue deck. Like, you have to, like, manage not only your time very well, which I think most people are pretty good at, but you also have to, like, manage your opponent's time. And, like, letting your opponent know, like, what the time is and, like, that you want to, like, finish the game, I think is, like, a very big part of it. Do they want to pass here? Okay, interesting. I mean, we're just going to gain 1,000,000 life then. Seems good. All right, we're at 53. Nice, healthy, stable life total. There is a point, we're probably getting to the point where we need to start peaking a little bit, or we need to stop peaking as much. I don't know if we're quite at that point yet, though. All right, so coming with this. You have our well-grounded live as well. This does have piercing now. Or no, this is next sword or dagger attack has Kogan and piercing. Okay. So we can do this. I think we rampart on the next thing. And then if they want to pump here with like a blade flurry, then we just like well-grounded. Alright, yeah, blade flurry. It's unfortunate. Still fine. Decent excuse to pop the well-grounded if we're blocking out the Kasai activation. Right, and then here, probably just want to root bound this, and then we could also like root bound plus rampart if we wanted to. I don't think that's wrong. Oh, thank you for the like the stream reminder. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and rampart. Also, I'll give a plug for our 2K stream, which we're gonna plan coming up. Once we get 2K subscribers, I think towards the end of the month, we're planning on doing like a big charity stream. So we're thinking about doing like Trans Lifeline. There are also like a couple other like LGBT like local charities that we're considering doing. But yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of the donations towards that. We're also gonna be doing some like giveaways and stuff, so that'll be pretty neat. But yeah, we got some ideas for that stream. That's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna try to get a bunch of guests on as well. I think it's gonna be like a 24-hour stream. So that'll be quite nice. All right, draw swords, draw cards. So 4 cards in hand, sharpened. Seems good. All right, they're not threatening Kasai here, so we're not as incentivized to block out. So we could leak a little bit of damage here if we wanted to. We do kind of have to start Titan's Fisting at some point. I don't know if now is that point. If we rampart, we can also prevent them from Brave Fortune, but I kind of just want to like Arsenal the Oaken more than anything, honestly. I'll take 6 here. I don't think there's a real incentive to block, especially if we're not denying gold. Yeah, Budget Fatigue Jarl, and like we're sitting at functionally 50 right now. I mean, we were at 56 because we got the 2 Hungries on board, but like I think this deck is like kind of real. I'm a little concerned at the deck totals right now, so I might start trying to go for because the problem is we don't have like the same end game that we do in like a normal fatigue Jarl. I kind of want to start maybe trying to use the Titan's Fist and seeing if we can just get a little bit of chip damage in. Alright, Hungry's put us back to 50. So I'm going to try to make the pivot to Titan's Fisting over peaking now at this point. I'm a little bit worried about the deck sizes. Our opponent's got some good threats coming out. They got 2 gold. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just Arsenal the Oaken here. Sitting at 53, nice and healthy. CYB is alive in 2025. Who would have known? Alright, they do have the ability to Kasai here if they want to, but it looks like they're not going to. And this looks like a good opportunity at felling. But I kind of want to just like not block on the first thing and see what they do. Yeah, this is like a decent deck to try out at a like an armory or something. They have the Bloodfall's Blade here, which is unfortunate. But that's fine. We're gonna get got by this card pretty much regardless, unless we're like sitting on D-React. But unfortunately here we're just not. Could actually end up felling the Centauri if we wanted to, but I think that's probably low value. Could also just like block here. Maybe we do end up felling the Centauri just so we strip a card out of hand. Or we could actually pitch it to Rampart. Probably the best case scenario, right? Yeah, maybe actually pitching this to Rampart and then giving the Fiddler's Green here is like the most efficient thing we can do. Kind of interesting. I think keeping the felling in the deck is pretty high value. Alright, we're still sitting on that Oaken Old. Alright, we got one more of these Blood Follows Blades to deal with. I think this is definitely one of those matchups where you're going to miss the Fable a little bit more. And like you're probably going to miss like the Everbloom loop as well. Because not having that to play towards means you do have to be a little bit more proactive with the Titan's Fist. Alright, they're going to activate Kasai, which is pretty good. So they have a yellow draw swords here. Alright, so let's try to block out. So I think the block is going to be at the Frozen to Death, and we hold the Rootbound and the Oasis for later. Block here, block here. Pitch the 2 block here. They have the run through, so that means we can block 8 on the next thing. Yeah, I think Pleiades coming out has made a lot of like Jarl players like kind of swap over. I know like Rob's been doing some Pleiades stuff. She seems like a lot of fun. I don't know if she's the deck for me though. I kind of feel like she's like very similar to Marlin, and Marlin I feel like is more fun, at least in terms of like resource management. But yeah, Pleiades seems like a lot of fun as well. There's the end of the swing, so we can now punish that with the Oasis. So looking pretty good here. Just going to keep trying to deny that gold as much as possible. We can get them to a point where their Raisin army isn't able to do anything consistently, like if they run out of Gogan sources. That's kind of like the ideal state here. But the Kasai decks do just have like a lot of Gogan, right? Alright, Blood Orients for 2 is fine. I have to like figure out like what is like the math on this card? Like how much copper to damage does this card do? I've never actually like done the calculation on it. It's like you get +1, you get like Gogan and an extra swing, right? So you're getting like an additional +2 for every 2 copper or something like that. Is that how the math works? It's interesting to think about. Still staying on this Oaken Old. We could theoretically Oaken Old next turn if we wanted to. But I think that denying the copper probably higher, or denying the gold here is probably higher priority. The only problem here is that we do have to block this like multiple times. Actually, maybe this is a good excuse to give the Crust plus this, and then we block with like the Macho and these later. So I think we pitched the Thunderquake here. Kind of an interesting block. Yeah, I'll try to save armor here. So this is also unfortunate because now we don't have the reblock here. And they also got the +1 from the from this sharpened senses, right? Is that weapon attacks get +1? Yeah. That's what's giving the +1. Maybe it's the time to like just give up the Coronet Peak. We're getting pretty close to deck. Let's try this. Then we'll maybe just like Macho block out the last swing. Or try to block it out at least. Alright, that could have been worse for us. Losing the peak there is kind of painful. But we're not doing too bad still. I mean, we're still sitting at 47. The biggest, like, thing we're concerned about here is the riches that's still in the deck, and then the Raisin Army. So if we try to figure out how to beat those, I feel like that puts us in the best spot. They still have a lot of good fodder in their graveyards. They have at least one more Kasai activation that they can do. We do have the Staunch, though, which is nice. They do have a lot of go-again sources, so we're not completely out of the woods yet, I think. There's Slice and Dice, which is actually pretty good in terms of lining up for Staunch. We're in okay shape here. Let's block with the Channel Lake Bridges, so we're denying the pump here. They still have one more Blade Flurry, I think. Let's search here. So we're out of spoils. We're out. We have one Blade Flurry here. We have another Blade Flurry here. So they have one more. So I feel like this block is like pretty safe. Could obviously get punished here, but then we do have the Fate as backup if we need to. Not the end of the world. The like downside here is that like the Fate plus the Staunch is kind of awkward, and I kind of want to just like start pitching here. So actually, I think we're pitching the Staunch here. Pitch the Staunch here, and then Fate this, and then swing Titan's Fist. They could have a follow-up here, which would get them a third gold, but I think we can't really afford to start blocking it out. I don't know. They still should also have some number of D-Reacts in the deck. Like, normally they do. I don't think we've seen any yet, though, so maybe they boarded them out. Which I think is probably smart. Alright, let's go and Fate. Bottom the Glacial for later. I did have the Iron Song, that's fine. I don't know if there's a realistic way to actually block out that gold there. So this matchup, depending on how good their Raisin Army is, which they've already got 3 guys on board, we could be in a bit of trouble here. They still have, I think, one of those D-React, or one of those attack reacts that makes a guy in and of itself, so could still have one more of those to worry about. Yeah, we're definitely still in a bit of trouble. Alright, so the Riches has come back around. That means we're basically at stack at this point. What's the play? Block with the Oaken, buy it back later. I hope I've seen my Remembrance, right? I think I still have that in the deck. So blocking with the Oaken's not the worst thing in the world, although I'd maybe rather just get the Rampart value. I think I'm just going to get greedy here and just try to get the Rampart value and then like maybe discard these 2 fruits. We are getting a little low on deck size though. All right. Yeah, Riches is I think a pretty big deal in this matchup. I think if we had Heart, I'd feel a little bit better. Oh, we denied the Glint there, which is also quite nice. Yeah, this matchup is still scary. Glacial? No, I think we're just like discarding the 2 fruits here. I mean, it's like functionally the same math, right? Either block 3 here or like leave it in the deck. How many Ice Earth cards do we have left? We have sorry, we have use the Pulse. We have 1 Crumble gone, so we have 2 Crumbles in the deck. It seems like they may want to make it bigger or something. Alright, let's keep Titan's Fisting. The fatigue math is looking okay for us. They're at 31 cards, we're at 21. We're still at a higher life total a bit. Alright, we found our Crumble, so maybe we can get this first Oakenold off. How many seeds have we seen? Where are our seeds tomorrow? We not seen this, or I think we've seen the seeds, but maybe we pitched them. So we have not used single seeds, which means we have to arsenal at this point. At least I'm assuming we boarded them in, right? Potentially, unless I'm just like completely missing them at this time of night. Yeah, we still have seeds still left in the deck. They're activating Kasai again, though. I mean, I feel like at this point we maybe just have to try to resolve an Oaken. I feel like if we're just like not doing anything, it's like pretty bad. I want to block 6 on these eventually, but like block 6 here, then they have a guaranteed go again. So I think I'm actually supposed to let this hit. It's pretty rough though. I think this is like a matchup where you definitely are gonna feel the spot where the shelters are gonna be. Oh, if they don't have Gogan off, this is actually really good. So I think I'm kind of okay with this. Although maybe we should have like ramparted here in the case they didn't have Gogan. I was kind of just expecting them to. Yeah, but 5 gold is a lot. Yeah, I mean we're still doing this, I think. Yeah, maybe that one turn we're supposed to block 6 with the crumbles, but then we can't Oakenhold, so I mean pros and cons, I guess, but like this Oaken should be guaranteed to hit since we haven't seen any D-Reacts, right? I feel like one of the ways that we can win against Raised Army is even if they raise for 5, we can maybe just start swinging at allies every turn. If they don't have to go again, maybe that's one thing we can do. But yeah, the lack of the shelter from the storms in this deck, like this is actually a deck that wants to use like 9 D-Reacts if possible, or 12 D-Reacts in this case, since I think we're on the root bounds as well, right? I think this might be a matchup where we do kind of miss the extra D-Reacts here. Take it on the chin. So I guess they did have to take it on the chins. That's one pseudo D-React I guess I forgot about. And let's arsenal the glacial. So there's our seeds and there's our remembrance. Interesting. Alright, love to see a gold crack. This is good for us. We may seeds away the glacial Autumn's Touch down something, Arsenal the Crumble, and then play towards the other seeds. I'm going to say no blocks here. They also, I think, are out of Kasai activation, so now they're at 4 gold. Still at 40, but I mean, anything can happen in Kasai when they make a bunch of allies, right? Alright, so everything's prevented this turn. Alright, there's the Raised Army and Arsenal. So, not the end of the here. So they get to have 3 swings here. We prevent 1. We can swing at a Titan's Fist. We do have to play towards our other seed, though. I think we're actually supposed to take 6 here and just accept that we're losing a bit of life. I don't think there's any real way around it. I think we do want to try to get the Remembrance online. Alright, so this is all fine. So we're finally below 40. So let's Titan's Fist down a Sellsword, and we should be coming up on our second seeds at some point. So we're going to try to take care of these Sellswords. I finish the game out that way. Alright, what are we buying back? I think we want probably some Fellings, and then maybe we have 1 Oakenhold, I think, still left in the deck somewhere. Since we have 2 Crumbles, I think the 3rd Oaken's probably also fine. Grab the 3rd Oaken as well. We have, I guess, 1 Crumble here, which we're going to bottom the seeds. Yeah, we'll arsenal the Crumble now. We're arsenaling the Crumble just so we can play towards the other seeds, which I think we have in the deck still. So, we need to keep an arsenal for that. Alright, Hot Streak Break is scary. Still no yellows, so this is just damage. Just good damage. Actually, we probably should block on... Or no, we're probably going to have to block on the Sellswords, right? I guess it doesn't really matter a ton. But let's block on the Sellswords, preferably. Okay, there's the Blade Flurry coming back around. But I guess the Blade Flurry is better in this case than blue. Or an extra blue, I guess. Second Raised Army, not that bad. So this is fine. We're gonna probably just end up blocking this with this Oakenhold here. But I think getting the 3 value here is kind of fine. Maybe we should have blocked 3 a little bit earlier. In the case that they just did this. Oh, I guess we still get the opportunity here. So we can block the Macho. Did I have the opportunity to block with a non-attack? I don't think I did, right? So we're still going to be buffing this regardless. Okay, this is still fine for us. Alright, we're going to try to take care of the cell swords here. But we still are going to be leaking a lot of damage. Alright, let's kill the right one. But yeah, we're not doing as bad as we could be doing, but yeah, cell swords do just make this matchup very, very difficult. Especially the riches on top of it. Alright, so let's go ahead and now seeds this. We're going to just try to hold on to a blue here, I think. Ruin your friendships and create enemies. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Hopefully they're not going to get a ton of sellsword value here. We can block 3 here. Problem I'm more so concerned about is just like running out of cards. Yeah, if we can just like leak a little damage off the saber, then we're fine with this. Maybe we actually shouldn't have blocked with one of the cards. I think it still makes sense. Okay, we got our extra value. That's fine. Can't complain about them using into the swing there. So the problem is we still have one more Raisin army to worry about. I'm more so concerned about the go again at this point. Lots of fellings, which are not going to get the chance to play. Interesting that they're also starting on the hot streak. I'm trying to think about deck density at this point. I don't actually know if there's a way we can win. They might like just be too far ahead in terms of like total value. Alright, Bloodfall's Blade, getting another sellsword is definitely very annoying. Maybe we should have blocked that in expectation that they had the Bloodfall's Blade. Yeah, we did note that there was one of those left in the deck, so maybe that block was a little bit better. Yeah, I think this is a matchup where you're really going to miss like the Everbloom and the Heart of Fyendal, which is unfortunate. I do think those cards do make this matchup quite a bit better. So let's try... I guess we can like Rampart here. I mean, we're gonna like trade basically +1 card in deck for 2 life, but we might need to at this point. I don't know if blocking with the Felling is actually like a winning play. I think we kind of need to at least keep one of these in the deck, but maybe that's too greedy. I don't know. Definitely some interesting decision points here. I feel like Riches is just such a hard thing for the deck to beat, especially on like a fatigue deck. Or especially on like a budget deck, rather. We do get to at least Glacial down the Sellsword now. Do we still have Earth Ice in the deck? So we still have the 2 Crumbles. That's good. So Arsenal the Oaken here is not bad. We're still just going to need to take a couple turns off just to clear these stupid Sellswords. Alright, more gold coming in. Not fun. How many Go-Again sources, I guess, do we have at this point, though? I mean, maybe we just, like, have to let them have gold. They don't love, but, like, realistically, can we block this turn? I don't know if we can. I guess we could block with the Terra Sunder here. Could not trigger this. I think we're getting out fatigued here. We do have Staunch, though, for what it's worth. I mean, we're not completely out of this, but Centauri Sellswords just do a lot of work in the late game. Alright, so I think we're going to go ahead and Rampart here. And maybe Staunch this, assuming that they're going to pump over. Alright, so there's the pump. Great. Alright, we're doing surprisingly well for a 5 Raisin army for, was it a 4 or 5? I think they got 5 allies in total because of the Bloodfall's Blade, right? Alright, but the allies are now taken care of. Now we just need to beat the rest of their deck. Maybe easier said than done. Pitching a Blade Flurry, which means they probably have another Go-Again source, so maybe we're supposed to just take the 2 here. I think of what threats they have left in deck. I think they have maybe one more run through. Oh, they're not even gonna Go-Again that. Okay, that's great. So that means we can actually open hold now. Okay, wait, maybe we have a chance here. I initially thought we were like super dead. but maybe we're just kind of dead at this point. All right, another hot streak coming in, so we just don't need to block with an attack. I guess we can just block with a channel bleak this expanse since it's blocking 2. So there's the run through. We have a trot along still. We're getting low here. But maybe we can use the power of Felling of the Ground to help us here. So let's go ahead and block 3 here. We're kind of also suffering from the Centauri Saber problem. Could also Rampart this to get an extra point of value. Don't hate, but like, kind of rather just like make sure I play out my Fellings. Like we might enter a situation where I'm not actually able to play out Felling, and I'd rather probably resolve them just to get a little bit ahead. Let's get a Macho. This is like surprisingly close for playing against like a fully kitted out Kasai deck. I don't think we're doing that bad. Seen all of our Okins at this point though. Like we're definitely still, so the crumbles are now like pretty low value, right? So we can probably just block with this one, or I guess we probably want to save that for later. We could also just like give this go again if we wanted to. Yeah, I mean, what else do they have left in the deck? They have 1 blood on our hands. They have, we used all their into the swings. That's good information. I think if there's actually a way to win this game. Slice and Dice all have been used. They have 1 more Raisin Army. Probably a couple more Outland Skirmishes. I think we've seen a couple blue Blade Runners as well. I think I'm supposed to just say no blocks here. Make them show me something. Because currently 2 damage is not super compelling, and if we can like dodge the glint here, I think that's a pretty big deal. So they are going to get a gold for their other Raisin Army. But we kind of just need to run them out of Gogan sources at this point. Great Forge, pitching Riches, and they're now back at 2 gold. So now I think we use the Crumble. I don't know if they have any ways to pump at this point. Maybe we just use the Crumble here. And then if we need to, we can Fate. So there's the Iron Song, that's fine. Doesn't kill us quite yet. I mean, I don't think it really matters much what we bottom at this point. Ooh, another Iron Song gets us to 1. Okay, I guess that's 1 card we did forget about, right? Yep, I guess Felling. I mean, we're like super dead here now at this point. I did forget about the 2 Iron Songs, mainly because I think they had both of them, right? Maybe we could have played around that a little bit better. I think we just saw the 1 and then forgot about it. We're doing like surprisingly well though, like for playing against Kasai, right? Like this is not that bad. Like if we had like Heartifying Doll or like the Everblooms, like this matchup would actually probably be like 1 at this point. Okay, so we have the Rampart and the Tectonic Crust, which can maybe buy us a little bit of life. So maybe what we're doing is like this, and then pitching the Autumns. I put up a good fight. I will say that. But we're probably looking pretty dead here. Oh, there's the other Raisin Army. Okay, yeah, we're super dead. But that's okay. Like, I think we actually did a pretty good showcase of the deck, and like this is one of those matchups where I think you are kind of missing the Fables a little bit. For what it's worth, we could also Rampart here. The Rampart's actually interesting because we can Fruits to go back to 1. Maybe we just grab our Rampart value. Do this. Back up to 1. Block 3. Die on the next turn, but like still did a pretty good job, I think. Yeah, I think it's just like one of those matchups where you cannot probably win without the Everbloom loop. That's okay though. I mean, I guess we'll just like, I mean, killing the Centauri Sellswords like doesn't actually do anything at this point. Right, take it on the chin, pretty good. I think our Kasai friend did board correctly, in the sense that, oh, also we're like, all of our things are attacks. I guess it had Gogan anyways. I think our Kasai opponent did board correctly. They're not running any D-Reacts or anything, so like that I think makes the matchup a bit better for them. But yeah, super dead here. I think they just had a little bit too much juice in the tank. I think like maybe with this style of deck, you don't want to be coordinate peeking as much just because like you don't have the Everbloom loop to rely on. Oh, and they also had a third Raisin army, so maybe we're just like super toast. Opponent got us good here though. They definitely kind of deserve it, so we'll scoop it up. But I think it's like still a pretty good deck. What are we doing on time? So we're streaming for 2 hours. Probably a good enough point to wrap it up. I think we did a pretty good job though, considering we're playing a fatigue deck. Like I think if we had, or it's consider we're playing a budget deck. I think if we had like 1 to 2 more points of value, like maybe from either like Tectonic Crust being like Arc Skin, or maybe like Coronet Peak, or maybe like some of the equipment options, like we had Quick Dodge on a turn, that could also be pretty good. But that's like some of the value you missed by obviously playing a budget deck. But I think like overall getting a Kasai, like getting this deck, getting like a fully tuned Kasai list to 6 health, I think is like a pretty big deal. So I'm pretty proud of this list. Like I think it's like pretty viable, especially for either 290 or 190 without the Rampart. So I think this is like a pretty good, at least budget fatigue starting point. What am I playing for the PQ season? So I'm playing Marlin for the PQ season. I've been working on some Marlin stuff. So I think I put out a video recently on this list, which I think is just very similar to like the Taylor Crawford pseudo list from Ben as well. That's kind of like just running like a very consistent main board and also like a little sideboard package. I think that like this list, I got top 2 at a Pro Quest, which is pretty good. But I'm definitely looking to try to like get the first LL points on Marlin, so that's what I've been mainly playing. Would it made sense to Remembrance a Scar for a Scar there, or is that too low value? So like I don't know if that wins the game is the only issue. Like Scar is good, but like I feel like it might not like the issue is like Scar is maybe like too little too late, because if you're not like blocking and just like swinging out every turn, you're like leaking a bunch of damage. But I think like they maybe just got like too much gold for the Raisin army is my thing. I guess it would have taken a while to get to the deck to it, so I don't know if it... Yeah, like the problem is I think they get Raisin army too fast and they get like too much gold, so like it's kind of rough. I'd say the matchup is definitely like a matchup where you kind of want like the hard package and also like the Everblooms. I feel like those make a pretty big difference. Having the shelters also for just like additional little points of life can kind of put you ahead as well. So like I think if we had some of that, like maybe that'd be a little bit better. And then the quick dodge I think also makes a pretty big difference as well. So like little points here and there that could have like maybe added up to like helping us win a little bit faster. But overall, I think I'm still really impressed with this list. We were able to win 2 over games tonight, 2 out of 3, so not too bad. And then like the last game we lost was against like a pretty fully tuned Kasai list, so maybe is like one of the matchups where you're kind of going to struggle because you don't have the Everbloom loop. But like that's kind of like the downside of it, I guess, playing like a budget deck. Like I think we got them to 6, which is like not too bad. Maybe a couple points of armor, so like maybe getting them to like 9 total. So I'd say it's like still pretty good for kind of just like a pile of draft chaff for lack of a better word. I guess like Plow Under and Felling are now not draft chaff, but yeah. But anyways, I think we're probably gonna wrap it up there. So let me know if you have any last minute thoughts on the stream. But thank you all for stopping by. We're probably gonna do, I don't know if we're gonna do stream on Friday, but we might put together a video on Friday. So we'll kind of see. I'm not particularly inspired yet, so we might I probably need to think about that still. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for stopping by. This is the Budget Jarl list. I'm going to put it in the chat one more time in case people want it. We'll also probably like link it in the stream after. But I think it's a really good budget starting point. I was pretty impressed playing this deck in paper. Like I think Hungry for More is actually like a pretty good card, maybe worth even trying in like a Fatigue Jarl, like the more like competitive CC style list like Rob had put together. Kind of impressed with the card. But obviously like finding the room is like a little bit difficult because like there are some pretty good cards in here, so like cutting down on stuff is like awkward. But yeah, initially quite impressed with the list, especially for not having access to like Shelter and some of the other like better cards in the game. So yeah, anyways, hope you all enjoyed. Probably gonna cut the stream off there, but yeah, I'll see you all around, and we got some exciting stuff coming up this month. So yeah, stick around, stay tuned, all that stuff. But yeah, I think we will see you all later. Yep, thank you for stopping by. Stream.